When was the last time you felt in control of your business finances? Expenses tracked, invoices sent, taxes ready. That's where Found comes in. Found brings your banking, bookkeeping, invoicing, and taxes together in one simple app. Manage expenses, invoice clients, send payments, and prep for tax time right where you bank. Join the hundreds of thousands who have already streamlined their finances with Found. Open a Found account for free at found.com. That's FOUND.com. Found is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided by Lead Bank, member FDIC.
Grave Tone.
Welcome to Grave Tone Podcast, where horror comes to life in every form it takes. I'm Meaghan.
And I'm Arthur.
And we have a super, super fun, extra special little bonusy interview episode for you guys today.
Super special. That is right.
All of the words that I can think of. Terrific, wonderful, fabulous, spooktacular. I don't know.
Super interesting.
I'm out of words. You do. You go.
Anyways, so we spoke with Mike P. Nelson last week, and we're finally dropping this interview today, right now. You're listening to it right now.
Huzzah.
You know him from, he written and, he directed The Wrong Turn.
The most Wrong Turn reboot in, 2021.
Yeah.
He wrote and directed not only one, but two segments in VHS 85, which I would argue is one of the strongest of that entire franchise, and most recently wrote and directed the reboot of Silent Night, Deadly Night, which came out in December of this past year.
Yeah, and it did really well as well.
Yeah.
He's also working on a new movie that's supposed to come out somewhere in the summer. It's a creature feature about a giant snake in the Amazon. All of that, we are talking to him about it. We're talking about, the movies that he's worked on, the movies that he's currently working on, what he likes, what he doesn't like, what inspires him, what scares him. Yeah. It's just a big kind of horror nerd fest.
It is. It's a big horror nerd chat. It was so much fun. This was such a great conversation to have. I think we're hoping to have many more of them in the future. But in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoy this little super special bonus episode. So Mike, thank you so much for hopping on with us. We're really excited to kind of just talk a little bit about sort of like some of your experience in filmmaking, some of the franchises that you've touched on, and kind of like the original stuff that you're working on, and sort of, I don't know, I mean, like kind of how you got into all of this, which I guess is maybe sort of generic, but it's kind of my first question is sort of maybe like why horror? What got you into it? Because I think you've mentioned in previous interviews that you weren't really allowed to watch it growing up. So I guess I'm curious as to like what kicked it off, and I guess like what drew you in the first place, like what your major inspirations were and what drew you to the genre in general.
Yeah. I mean, growing up, it was, I loved all the Universal monsters, the stuff that I was allowed to watch, obviously, left a mark on me. I remember, I think it's somewhere back on that shelf, actually. It's a recorded off TV, James Whale's Frankenstein. And I mean, gosh, that was one that I remember I was in my parents' first house, which meant that I was either 5 years of age or younger. And I remember watching that several times. I was like the go-to tape. It was that one. They were all recorded off TV. So it was like Star Wars New Hope, Frankenstein, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, when my dad was in a good mood because he didn't like me watching that one, even though that's like my favorite one. I love that one. That one has a special place in my heart. And then of course, like I knew of all like the Wolfman and the Creature and the Mummy and stuff like that, and so I was allowed to watch those. So of course those left a huge mark on me, and so that was sort of, honestly, that's kind of how it all started, and having the toys and that was really it. And then I of course always liked to take things a little bit more extreme than maybe my parents would have liked, but then of course honestly then at a very young age, I believe, I had to have been 5 or 6, very young. I watched Monster Squad. Like again, it was my godfather, who was a really good friend of my dad. He had a huge movie collection in his basement. Like when you went over to his house, It was just like you're walking into a little mom and pop video store. Like the basement was just like shelves of just VHS tapes,
Oh,
and they
That's
were all the
awesome.
real
those were the best people growing up, is the
That's
people who
it
had
was like
all the movies.
wood paneled walls. He
Yep,
had like a
yep.
beta deck and a VHS deck. He had like the big kind of the big screen, the projection screen, and then he had the normal. It was just like
Oh,
he was all into the tech. And he had a version of Monster Squad. He didn't have the actual VHS of that one, although he eventually did get it, and he gave us the one that he recorded off of HBO. So it had like the HBO logo that came up, and you know, you know. And I remember watching that with my dad because he was like, if Mike likes, you know, Dracula and the Wolfman and all that stuff, because he's gonna love this movie.
yeah.
And of course, it was pretty extreme for a 5 or 6 year old kid. My dad wasn't happy about that, but we watched the whole dang thing, and it was it left an impression for sure. And so after that, I realized, oh, monsters can be like really mean, and like there can be blood, and I mean, and kids can be involved. Okay, I'm in. And I think, you know, after that, God, I remember, I think so. It had to have been after, because yeah, I had to have been that young when I saw it, because I remember like one of the first stories I ever wrote, like, and I believe it was in kindergarten. It was literally about the wolf man eating somebody. It was like the first like handwritten story, and I drew a picture, and it was the wolf man, and it looked like Lon Chaney, wolf man, you know, with like the pants and the red shirt or whatever, and then it was just like blood on the mouth, and of course my teacher was very concerned.
Of course.
My
Of
dad was
course.
like, well, let me tell you, he's this is what he loves to do. And so I think, again, the long-winded answer of it did start somewhere. That's kind of where it started, and I just you know, when I could ever sneak a peek, I would. But it was just growing up until finally I just got to you know, I was old enough to go to the R-rated movies myself.
Right, yeah.
And I just went all in, and I just had to do a lot of catching up. I am still catching up. There are people who are
yeah.
like 400%, you know, have seen way more than I have, and I am still. They're like, have you never seen that? I'm like, nah, dude, nope. And they're like, oh, dude, I saw that when I was like 15. I'm like, yeah, see, I wasn't watching them when I was 15. I was, so yeah. Anyway, that's where it all started, and then of course finding my dad's video camera, the big shoulder rig, carry around the deck in this hand, this in this hand, with the telescoping mic, and then it was just making movies with friends, you know, at a very young age, and just continued to do that. And then the cameras got a little bit better, and you know, I got a camera for Christmas, and then went off to school and got a little bit of a better camera, and just kept making stuff. That was really it.
And now you can just make movies with your phone, apparently, because
Yeah,
everyone
I
has a
mean,
camera in their pocket.
I mean, shit, man. If Sean Baker can get out there and do it, anybody can. You know, it's
That's it.
you know, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome, though. Man, your dad had a good camera set up for even the time, like an actual, like proper, like a deck and everything attached to it. That's really intense. That's not something that you saw. Most people just had like a little handheld like camcorder, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna make a movie with it.
Well, no, but see, this was before the little handheld one. Like it was literally the only size you could get.
Oh my
Like
God.
an 80, what was it? It would have been he got that thing. Was it the year I was born, or so it had to have been really early 80s. So these things were nothing was small yet. There were, I think, cameras. Actually, I think the more expensive, like the cooler ones, is where you could put the tape inside and close it, and it was all one unit. That was like, that's technology.
Yep.
This one was like a little bit older of a build, where like you had the deck that you had to carry along, so you actually had to lug around this like 10-pound thing with, you know, a 10-pound camera on your shoulder.
When you're 7 and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do that.
Exactly, but we made it happen. But what was cool about that deck was you could actually plug in, and you could mix, like if you wanted to, you could mix different audio in over stuff that you had shot. You just have to press. There was a dub button.
Wow.
You'd hit the dub button, and so if we wanted to put punching sound effects in, and we didn't want to do them on the day, we would have to time up, and we'd have to know like how far the tape would go back, and then how far it would creep forward, and then we'd be ready because it would cancel out the sound that you'd already recorded.
Oh,
And so you had to be ready, and then it was like, and then, all right, and then you'd stop it so then no other sound could get. It was
Oh, that's
insane.
so great.
Anyway, good times. We went through it.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, but I mean, look at what it's led you to, and things like Monster Squad. And
Yeah.
I mean, like you started with the classics, like with Universal Monster stuff and everything too, and then like Monster Squad, which just does its little updated version of things. Doesn't Dracula blow people up with dynamite? in Monster Squad?
100% he
It's
does.
so
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Why wouldn't a kid like that movie? It's just a bunch of
It's
kids
so
running around
good.
swearing about everything, and
I
Dracula
know.
blows people up with dynamite.
Yeah.
That was every 80s movie, to be fair. It was just a
Dude,
bunch
there
of
were so many
foul-mouthed kids
explosions. Yes.
doing things that they weren't supposed to do.
Yep.
And you really, really rooted for them. Every time you watch anything from that time period, that's what you get.
I mean, but that's kind of how it was.
Yeah.
That's how kids talked. That's kind of what we did. It was back home when the streetlights turned on, and
You
you
never
got into
knew.
shenanigans.
Your parents genuinely had no idea what you were doing for the entire
Yeah,
day.
seriously, I think that was the era.
It was the
That-
last era where
the
that was
last era.
happening. Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you have tracking. You
Yeah.
know exactly where your kid is. I used to leave my house at like 8 o'clock in the morning, not come back until 10 p.m. My parents had no clue where I was.
And nobody was that worried.
No, that's
Nope.
true.
No.
No. Anyways, that's a whole other
I
know,
conversation.
yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, that's it. It's led you kind of to the place that you're at now, and you've been able to step in and work on these like really cool, like well-established IPs with like these kind of iconic franchises, which is really fun because you've been able to do that, to like kind of revamp something that already exists to a degree, which arguably Monster Squad sort of did with like Universal Monsters in its own
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Is that something that like, is there something about, I guess, like inherited IP and working on franchises, like existing franchises to a degree like this, but doing something completely different with them, that draws you to a project specifically? Because I'm thinking of things like obviously Wrong Turn, and then more recently
Yeah.
Silent Night, Deadly Night, of course, and like both
the
of these.
better Wrong Turn, I would say.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Same
Well,
writer though. Same writer.
Yeah,
Ah,
but he made it a full story.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. God, I'll be 100% honest. I did not think going into this that I would be helming these sort of B horror franchises or IPs. You know what I mean? Obviously celebrated and loved,
Mhm.
but I never expected it. It wasn't like I was going after it. It did sort of, I don't want to full on say fell into my lap, because it was still something I like when I read something, or when I was like called up, hey, would you be interested in this? Like, I had to put the work in to like try to get it. Like, they're not just like, you get this movie, go take it away. It's like, no, they want to hear what you have to say and what your vision is. And so you have to like sit down, you got to try, you have to like really focus in on like what you want it to feel like, what you want it to look like, who would you like to see in it, like all these things. And so I think it was after I did The Domestics, which was an original that I wrote, and it was like my first Hollywood feature.
Yeah.
I was like, Wrong Turn came along, and I was like, oh boy, like never did I think I was going to be doing that. But I read it and it was good. I was like, this is a lot different than I was expecting. It feels like its own movie, but it feels enough like it has the Wrong Turn DNA. Kids in the Appalachians getting lost in the woods, and a tribe, of strange people find them and take them, or or kill them, or whatever. And so, and it had this new take, and I was like, oh, this is really cool, because it feels like it really does feel like its own thing. And that was, I think, eye-opening to me, because not only did it, did I love the story, and I love that it kind of told this like trifecta, this like story of like these liberal city kids who meet up with kind of redneck conservatives, and then a weird group of communist socialist psychopaths in the woods. And I was like, this is so fantastic. Like, you can do so much with, stories that, you know, have been told, and you can retell them in new ways. And so, yeah, I mean, then, you know, when you had Silent Night, you know, get brought to me, and that was, you know, Brad Miska, who I did VHS 85 with, and
Yeah.
loved working with him on that. And he's such a cool dude. And he was like, hey, we're looking for a take. And I came up with a take that I was like, I knew that if this movie didn't take it, I could technically make my own Santa Claus movie with it if they didn't want it, you know. And
Yeah.
that was the thing. I think that's what it came down to, is I needed to be able to tell my take and tell a unique and original story. Obviously then when, you know, I got the gig, it was kind of like, okay, what do I really love from the original that I can bring into here to really still keep the DNA? I mean, and obviously the main thing was Billy Chapman. Like
Yeah.
Billy is, to me, has always been Silent Night, Deadly Night, and to bring him back in this new way was exciting. And you know, of course, starting off the movie in a familiar way, so you feel like, okay, we're back in this.
Yeah, we're kind of in it. What it is.
world.
Yeah.
And then it
you hear-
goes, yoop.
Yeah, that was what was so cool about it. That was why we had such a good time with it, was that we were like, okay, what kind of a reboot are we getting going in? Like, I had no idea. I was like, what kind of a reboot are we getting? Are we getting like a full remake? Are we getting something that's slightly different in some way? And then basically, as of a couple of scenes in, something completely different happens to Billy's character that leads him into like the entire sort of trajectory that his character takes for the rest of the movie. And it was so unexpected, and had such an interesting twist that you don't get. Well, when you watch the original movie, you're like, of course he's crazy. This poor kid was like traumatized in the orphanage that he grew up in and everything. And I felt, more than anything, the first 30 minutes of that movie, I was like, this is awful. This poor child is being like abused by these people in this nunnery. And it's so sad. So no wonder he turns out the way that he turns out. But this took that, like a vague idea like that, but it gave Billy so much more nuance as a character. It gives him so much more reasoning, and on top of it even gives you even more of a surprise twist with like how this has happened to him and really what's actually going on. Why are Billy's parents killed? It's not just a random act of violence. Like, there's more that actually, you know, to that story. And I thought that was so cool. I loved that.
It was very smart,
I
for
know.
sure.
It was fun. Like, I mean, it was,
Yeah.
again, it was one of those things that it was, as I've told other people, it was how the idea came about was, again, it was, I was watching a whole bunch of Pixar with my wife and son, Pixar and then freaking Frailty of all movies. And it was just like, and after watching all these, you know, movies, like, gosh, you think about a movie like Ratatouille, right? You know, where it's like literally the chef who's being controlled by a rat, you know what I
Yep.
mean? And like telling him what to do, and like how he, you know, and it was sort of that kind of vibe. And then you have a movie like Frailty, where you have Bill Paxton, who gets told by God, he's given an axe to go murder murderers, you know, and if you're like, but are they? Or is he just crazy? You know what I mean? And so to me, I was just like, oh gosh, there's something really cool here. And I think I could work in this Billy Chapman story and like bring this sort of like kind of whimsical, kind of, you know, fantastical kind of Pixar elements that kind of make it fun, and like, and I don't know, it's more, it's kind of like a ride, but then you have this like dark force, and it's like violent, and then you can like, but you can like get revenge on like the worst people in the world. And I'm just like, oh, okay, this all these things are really coming together in a good way. And yeah, that's kind of where it that from, and that was the fun of it all, was just this amalgamation of all these different things. Yeah.
It's crazy how sometimes ideas come together, because I was reading Stephen King's memoir a while back, and he said the exact same thing. He would think of like one thing, and then he was like, okay, maybe that's kind of like going to be in the background, whatever. And then something else happens, and then you connect the two dots, and then there's something developing, right? Like, and then there's a whole story about it.
Yes, 100%.
That's awesome. I mean, I guess also, I think a lot of people said it when they watched the film, but they definitely were like, "Oh, this has like a Dexter vibe to it." It's got like that little like dark passenger kind of feel where there's like something in your head kind of telling you what to do, and it's of course to like rid the world of terrible people who are doing terrible things, and so it kind of.
By the way, we have to say we spoke with Mark Etchison a few weeks back. He
I
said
saw
only
his thing.
He only said
yeah.
fantastic things to say
And
about working on this
that
film.
was, I don't know if you had the choice to cast him for the voice or whatever it is, but he was amazing. Such a great voice for it.
So good.
He told us that like you brought an audio studio to his house, which is like, damn,
Which
okay.
is awesome.
That's so cool.
Yes. Yeah. He was, well, it was interesting because there was one point in which we were trying to get the movie made. This was in 2024. And we were set up to shoot it in Vancouver.
Right.
And so we put a casting call out for a couple of, the key characters.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew what kind of people I wanted, but at that point it was like, okay, we're so low budget. You got to bring in everybody that's in the movie's got to be from Vancouver. So, and I'm just like, okay. So, nobody had read the script. They just were given a couple scenes, and I just remember nobody was really clicking. And the only person from that casting that carried over into when we ended up shooting in Winnipeg in 2025 was Mark Atchison. And so when they were like, so who do you want for Charlie? I'm like, he auditioned last year. It was Mark Atchison. And they're like, oh, where's he from? I'm like, he's from Vancouver, man. He's like, great. He's Canadian, great. Works for the Texan Center. I'm like, he works creatively for me, so I don't care where he's from. He's got to be in this movie.
Exactly.
And that's what it came down to. And then of course, with the Rowan and Ruby of it all, as soon as when we were in Winnipeg, and they were kind of like, you can cast whoever you want now. I'm like, Ruby Modine. I was like, she's Pam, because as soon as that was lifted, I was kind of like, I knew I wanted her, and I gave her the script right away, and she loved it. And then Rowan came about through Steven Schneider, who's Strange Darling, and he did the Long Walk, and I'm just, he's got a hell of a
also filmed in Winnipeg.
Exactly. So he's got a hell of a track record.
Yeah.
And he had just done a movie with Rowan called Violence, and was like, you should send it. We should get the script to him. And I was like, he read it? He goes, yeah, I know him. I'm like, okay. And sure enough, I got on a call with him right after he read it. He loved the script. We talked for a little bit, and it just seemed like, it seemed like a week or so later, he was like, I'm in. So it was like, that was as easy as it was to like cast the three leads. It was just like, boom.
Rowan and Ruby were fantastic in the film. Like they really tied it together. And Rowan had this really brilliant ability to basically seem like Billy seems like Charlie is literally in his head for the entire movie. Like it's very conversational. Nothing feels forced. Nothing seems like it doesn't match up in terms of like dialogue or his reactions to anything. Like everything felt really natural with what he was doing.
What was it that I read? I don't know if it was you or someone else was feeding him the lines that Mark Atchison afterwards recorded, so the dialogue was very seamless. Is that what happened?
I was usually on set. Yeah. So I'd say about 90% of the time I was kind of acting with Rowan, like from behind camera or over by the screen. And then a couple times I had our AD Reed come in and if I was focusing in on too many things. But yeah, a lot of times it was just Rowan and I just trying things.
Right.
Which is fun,
also very funny that you wound up having to switch locations and everything, and you still wound up with two key players in your cast that were Canadian anyway.
Go figure, right?
Isn't that funny?
It's just, that's how it worked out.
But it was great. It was just like a really great ensemble. Even I would also say even a lot of the side characters, everybody, Pam's dad. I loved Pam's dad.
David Brown, man. Yeah,
he was wonderful.
Yeah, he brought a warmth, a humor. Obviously, when he meets his demise, it's crushing. You know what I mean?
Sad.
Because he doesn't deserve any of that.
No,
but again, this is when you're in a horror movie, good people don't always make it in horror films, and that's what makes them horror films.
True.
It's a harsh reality at times.
So, okay. So obviously, I mean, we know that the original Silent Night, Deadly Night was largely panned, and there were actually like there was quite a bit of controversy when the film was released
Yeah.
initially. There were all kinds of protests and stuff because it was just not something that was like seen very frequently at the time. Like it was a killer Santa. It was like besmirching, obviously, like the holiday spirit of it all. So I don't think people
Mhm.
were too happy with it. Um, Now, flash forward in your version of this, there is, I guess, what could have been a controversial scene, but is really just a sequence that went fully viral before the film was released in the most positive way possible with regards to like the response that you got from it. And I can only imagine the first audiences that watched the film before its release probably had some really great reactions to it. So I guess I'm just curious if you have what your feelings are about the differences in terms of like I guess quote unquote controversy between the release of the original film and then something like the Nazi sequence. I don't think I'm giving that much away. The film's been out for a
Yeah,
little while now
everybody
and it went
knows now.
viral. Everybody's seen
It
it.
went
That's it.
viral.
Yeah,
Like,
I know,
yeah.
that's it. So anyway, in like the Nazi sequence in your version of the film and sort of I guess from your perspective, how you think audiences maybe have changed a little bit in that regard with what they want out of their horror now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've done Christmas horror now.
Yeah.
And there. I mean, technically, Silent Night, Deadly Night, the original wasn't the first Killer Santa
No.
Claus movie. There was others. No, they weren't they weren't big in studio backs. Like they weren't. What is it, TriStar or whatever.
Mhm.
Right.
So that was a huge deal that it was like putting out in theaters everywhere kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think look, I think times have changed. I think people want their slashers to bring home the goods. I think people are cool with merging Christmas with Christmas with a little bit of crazy. I think
Yeah.
that's I think people are completely over that aspect now. I don't think there's really anything to boycott, or there's not as much sacrilege, I think, connected to it.
Mhm.
That being said, though, it's like, one of the things going into it and what I wanted to do with it was, whereas I wasn't going to go kind of the more, uh, I wasn't going to get so much into the weird, like the abuse stuff and,
Mm.
the kind of the skin flick that the other one
Oh,
ended up
yeah.
kind of being.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to get into that, which was a huge deal because it was just like it was kind of like sacrilege. You're doing it's like sex, blood, violence, and like with a Santa Claus, like, oh, this is so disgusting, blah blah blah. I was like, there still needs to be these like elements to it that like give it that sort of off color.
Mhm.
Off color thing, but something off color that like I'm also like kind of okay with. That and so again, like, and as I've said before, being coming from the Church of Indiana Jones, growing up in that church from a very early age and knowing full well, I mean, my dad was a military he collected stuff from World War II, and so
Okay.
like I knew at a very early age like who the bad guys were, let's just put it that
Right.
way. And so that was made very clear to me, and so yeah, it was kind of like my opportunity to do something kind of off the wall, zany,
Mhm.
a whole room dressed in Santas and elves, and they're all Zeke Heiling, and you're like at a to me it was like, okay, I'm gonna kind of bring that, like, it's like that sequence in Last Crusade where they're
Mhm.
at the book burning ceremony with Hitler there, and I actually pull a line straight from that scene and I put it in in our scene, and it's when they walk in and Charlie goes, "We are pilgrims in an unholy land." That's exactly what Sean Connery says in that scene, and
Oh,
that's
right,
I
right.
literally just put it right in
All
because I was like,
right.
that is where that comes from. That is what
I
that scene is sort
you're
of
not
based on.
yeah, you're not expecting it. I think you're not expecting it in the film, so I'm sure people who weren't paying attention probably I didn't catch it. I'm sure people didn't necessarily catch it. Everybody catches the Garbage Day reference. Like, I
Of
think
course.
that's expected
Of
and
course.
everyone's looking for it.
Yeah.
But not everybody caught that. Oh, that's a really cool like homage.
Yeah.
That's like, and that one
Yeah.
is literally just for me. Like
Yeah.
I did it
Yeah.
because again, it is my nod to, one of my favorite films, but it's like in the same sort of like evil environment. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, but yeah, that was sort of my way to like get that sort of like, again, like I said, that sort of off color, like strange, like what the hell is going on? Kind of vibe that it's different than the original, but it was my attempt to do something like that gives it that fun, that weird, that
It's such a cool, like, and such a like a surprising interspersed scene. I did not see it coming before. I
No,
hadn't watched
not
the
at
scene
all.
before we saw the movie, and I did not see it coming at all. And it's so well
yeah,
choreographed. Everything looks great.
it was fun. I mean, we could have used another day, maybe two, but because I think we shot it in like a day and a half.
Oof.
Like
Wow.
and like that was everything. That was like
Oh,
her getting up and doing her speech, the entrance. Like, I
the
mean,
whole
we were
fight
just
sequence. That's
like, yeah, Nick and I and my DP, Nick Junkersfeld and I, like he literally had to go in there and be like, okay, so we just need to like be able to like walk lights around, like whatever way you want to turn, we can just do
okay.
this. And then you want to, then we just were able to just dance stuff around constantly. And then we just let some of the pin lights or the point lights just kind of play, and they're just in the scene just because it's a party, you can rent those lights.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
true.
So I mean, you had to kind of think on the fly and how we're going to get something like this done, because I don't think any of the producers thought we were going to actually make it. And we did actually have to cut down some of the scene. There was actually more. There was, I think, at least 3 or 4 more like on-screen kills that were supposed to happen that we didn't have time to do. Like we had to make the hard decision and lop off a couple things that we just didn't have the time to
Yeah.
do. But it was still, look, I still think we still did something that was pretty fun, and
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
we had a good time doing it too. Like we used real squibs and
Oh, that's
air cannons blowing stuff up, and it was so much fun.
so cool.
That's
And
really
I
cool.
mean, it really, no, it's paid off though, because it's
Oh, yeah.
genuinely, it's such a cool, like, new fresh take on things. And it leaves things open. It's left open for a sequel as far as I'm concerned. I'm just saying, like, if Ruby wants to come back and do just like her own movie,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
Rowan wants to step into like a voice role, they could just make another film out of that, and I think that would be really fun.
Well, I mean, I have talked with both of them, actually with the producers as well. So like there's a pretty solid idea that I've pitched to both Rowan and Ruby and Scott and Dennis, and and everybody is really on board. It's just a matter of if Cineverse or another entity wants to take it on, because they are in, like they've already kind of said like, yeah, just let me know where we got to be.
That's
They
awesome.
should. I'm gonna create a petition. This
Okay,
needs
do
to
that.
happen.
Yep. Good plan.
Yeah, the more people that say we want this, the more likely it'll happen. Let's just put it.
Listen,
That's it.
we could circulate
There
something.
you go. Yeah, yeah. There we go.
I'm sure. Oh, I have one completely random question, just out of curiosity, with regards to the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise as a whole, because those movies get weirder the longer you kind of look at them. The outside of the original film, do you have a favorite of the other ones?
Am
I putting you on the spot?
Well, no. Well, no, not at all. Honestly, like I know you could even say it's maybe even worse than the first one, but I'd say the second one,
It's so funny.
because it continues the story, even though it
Yes.
does use half of the movie to fill out half
it.
of its movie.
Yep.
But just the fact that it's Billy's brother, like there's, to me, it's kind of the next best thing, you know what I mean? And that what's his name? What's the actor's name? Is hysterical.
He's so I can't oh god, I can't remember. That's not good. It's like it's basically my favorite one just because of his entire performance in that film. I don't know who was like either directed him that way or was like, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
We're keeping it. But
I mean,
whoever did that made a good choice.
Everybody loves Garbage Day. I personally love Umbrella Kill.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and it just blood flies out, and it's like, oh, like he's got the guy. I'm like, I've never seen that before. That's incredible.
It's so inventive.
I know. I love that.
So good.
Yeah. So again, as you said, it's not super great movie, but again, it's zany, it's wild, and
Mhm.
I love that. Like, it's where are they? Was it LA that they were shooting that in, or
Like during the
Something like that.
summer, it's
during the
definitely
Yeah.
summer? And
Los
it's just like, I remember, I remember before I even saw that movie and I saw the Garbage Day clip. This was when I was a lot younger. I was like, what is this from? And when somebody said Silent, I was like, I thought that was a Christmas movie.
Yeah. I think almost no other film in the franchise that follows really classifies as a Christmas movie, other than a couple of them are like, it's winter. And I'm like, okay.
Sure.
Especially when you get into the witch cult stuff with
Oh,
the
yeah.
slimy bugs. I'm like, what movie are we in right now? What franchise is this?
Just, slap the name on it and people will see it at the video store. And
It's
I mean,
basically
hey,
what they
you know
did.
what?
Kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it
I
was made
mean,
by Brian Usna, so I mean,
hey,
So
did you
all the-
know? Did you know?
everything
Okay,
was
so this is an interesting little bit of trivia, and is I actually went to college with his nephew,
oh no
Jake.
way.
So,
What?
so, and I didn't really. I mean, I didn't know entirely who Brian Usna was.
Yeah.
But of course, when college hit, and I was like doing my deep dive into horror films, because I was watching everything at that point.
Yeah.
And then I started to realize, and then when he told me, I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" He was like, "Yeah, like dolls and Reanimator." I'm like,
Yeah.
"What?"
Wow.
Yeah. So
Right.
yeah, we both went to MCAD, which is kind of a fun thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he's still here. Yeah, Jake is still here in Minnesota too.
Oh wow.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. I guess if I flip gears, because there are other projects, obviously, but I guess if I flip gears, what were the differences, I guess, in obviously working on like a full length feature, but versus working on a VHS film? Because it's a franchise that's established, but each
Mm.
film is so different.
Yeah.
And all of the segments are so different, and the wraparound plots are always completely separate from each other. Like, there's always like a huge difference. And I mean, in your case as well, it was two segments that you
Mhm.
created, and you actually tied them together, which I feel like when we watched it, I wasn't expecting to happen
Mhm.
at all, because very frequently in the VHS franchise, they tie into the theme, but they don't necessarily tie together multiple segments or even to the wraparound necessarily. There's not necessarily that much of a correlation. It just sort of fits into the overarching theme. But this one had like a full circle moment to it, which was really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't know. Other than it being shorter, I mean, God, there were no rules. I mean, I think that's what's really cool about it. I mean, I mean, when Josh Goldblum reached out and was like, "Hey, do you have any ideas?" I had met him because he was the one that premiered Domestics at Cinepocalypse
Oh,
in
nice.
Chicago, and that's how I met him. And so when he reached out, and this was in like 2021, he was like, "Yeah, we're looking for ideas. We're doing 99 and 85, and we're kind of shooting them at the same time." And I was like, "Oh wow!" I was like, "Yeah, let me think of some." He's like, "Yeah, just send me some ideas, and then we'll talk about which one would work." And I sent him 3. He liked 2 of them, and he goes, "You just pick which one you want to do." And I was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, "All right." So I picked the no wake idea,
Yeah.
and there it was an idea that I had. Like, I had written this like short. Um, it wasn't fully scripted, but it was like this kind of this short story that I had pitched to my managers at one point, and yeah, and I pitched it to some other people, and everybody's like, "Ah, this is too weird. This is really dark. It's you want to be careful with like the people the shooters that are out there now with like the fact that you have a sniper and that's the horror. Like, oh, you got to be careful." And I remember my one manager, she's not anymore. She went off and started her own company, but I remember she called me after, and she was like, "Don't give up on that story." This was back in 2018 or something like that. She's like, "Don't give up on this." She's like, "There's something here." She goes, "I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a feature." She goes, "It's not all figured out, but you have something here, so hang on to it." I was like, "All right." And so when this came along, I was like, "This is perfect. Like, it doesn't have to be a feature. Like, it can be like 20 to 30 minutes." And
Yeah.
the only thing I didn't have fully fleshed out was who was doing it, like who was the killer. And there was some ideas like, oh, it's just a guy in the woods, and oh, it's just but I was like, I also love cult stuff, you know, and I
Yeah.
and you know, I'm really inspired by like especially like family traditions, and like how they can be great, but they can be super toxic at the same
Yeah.
time. And I was like, ooh, there's something really intriguing here, and like especially if it plays as like a part to this that looks nothing like the other segment.
Yeah.
And then that's where my pitch came in. And I was like, you guys, hear me out. What if I know this is like kind of like it's kind of like your bookends where like, you know, in 94 you start with the SWAT team coming in and then you
Yes.
end with the SWAT team and it's the two girls
Right.
that like kill, like I was like, so it's kind of like that, except it's not bookends. It's like the film happens kind of like maybe it's the second film in, and then you have two more films, and then you finish it with like a shorter end, like another that you don't know it's a part of it,
Yeah.
and then technically the whole segment wraps up, and then you finish it off with the with another film, and then the end. And they're like, oh. And I remember David Bruckner, who I mean, he's producer. He's been on these things. He's been a producer on these things forever. And he was like, "This is really interesting." He goes, let's play with that. Like when we were editing this, let's find out where we can put these." But I like that, and it worked, and everybody was super excited about it. And so that's what we did, and it catches people off guard, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what I had hoped it would do. And we made a great villain in Ruth, and and then it was cool. It's like and the whole concept was, you know, we always it's a slasher film, but with a mass shooter. You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
that is the horror that we deal with today. It's not necessarily a knife wielding maniac. It's you go to the grocery store and you don't know if you're gonna come home. Like
That's so
that's
fascinating.
and so for
Yeah.
me it was like, okay, we're always so focused on who the guy who did it is, and there's always a story about him, and then we hear about the victims, and then we kind of forget about him.
Yeah.
And the guy who takes the glory is the guy who's taken all the lives, right? I'm like, what if we get to hear from the victim's side? What if they all wake up and we get to hear sort of what they experienced?
Hmm. Hmm.
And then they're actually talking about it. What does it feel like to be like all these things? This is really, it's messed up, but it's also like we spend time with them then
Hmm.
and it becomes something else. And that was sort of the, yeah, that was the concept behind it. And that was to me what made it so different and also horrific. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the
Um,
horror of reality, really,
yeah,
to a
yeah,
degree. And it's unfortunate. And it's also, I guess that's so interesting too, because this is not this VHS film isn't set in modern, like
no,
current times. It is set,
mhm,
you know, a number of decades
yeah,
ago, but it's still nothing about it feels like it's out of place.
yeah, yeah. That's exactly it. So, and I mean, you know, we've all grown up now since you know the early '90s when this stuff has been going on. It's been a part of our life
Mhm.
for 30 years.
Yeah.
And so that's you, you can sit there and just say, yeah, it happens, and ignore it, or you can, you know, do something with it and say that this is the horror that we live with, and
Yeah.
let's face it head on.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
so interesting that you brought up the family traditions and the cult aspect too, because you kind of come back to that in Wrong Turn as well.
Yeah.
It is part
Yeah.
of that story
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
It's this, you know, like scary cult in the woods, really, but like they have this
Hmm.
very particular set of ideals and traditions that they stick to,
Yep.
um you know, and like the sort of horrific things that they inflict on the people that they kidnap and like the women that they take and things like that, obviously. But they
Hmm.
it's just interesting that it's like, you know, that's it, it's the traditions that you're like, look, traditions can be terrible. And even like in a Christmas movie, you know, sometimes you watch a movie and you're like, yeah, but some families just do this because they feel like they have to get together at the holidays. It's that
Yeah.
like that Krampus thing of it all where everybody's irritated
Yeah.
with each other, but oh, this is what we do
Hmm.
every year at Christmas, so I guess we're getting together. Like it's that kind of feel.
Hmm. Yeah. That's exactly where that came from. Was just she has a choice. She can either stay and do what her family has told her she needs to do,
Yeah.
or her cousin says, "Let's just get out of here." Like they can leave, and she's like, "Nope," and you're like, "Oh God." Yeah.
It hurts. But it has a great ending. I loved the not particularly ambiguous, but also like the visual of the ending is very, very cool.
She will forever be, yeah, she's kind of immortalized and can never get what her family says she needs to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's been baptized.
So I guess just to like wrap things up a little bit so that we don't,
not monopolize your time.
take up the rest of your evening. So we have part of what we do on the podcast that we have like multiple episodes of is we have like a bit of a side series that we call Childhood Trauma, where we revisit a film that one of us watched when we were probably too young, when we were kids, and it gives us the opportunity to re-examine it from a different lens. And it's like our weird little way of therapizing ourselves through whatever thing we watched when we were kids that maybe freaked us out more than it would obviously now, to an extent.
Yeah, some of them make absolutely no sense. Why they freak you
No,
out?
especially
when you were a
yours.
kid.
Yours are my favorite. But I guess I'm wondering, was there a film that you watched at a very early age in some capacity that you feel maybe would be worth re-examining, or that even still gets you as an adult, that you're like surprised that you're like, oh, this still holds up and still scares me?
Yes, I mean, there's a couple actually. Because you probably watch. I remember going over to some sleepovers and sneaking in a few R-rated films. I remember just going to my friend's house across the street, sleeping over and watching White Men Can't Jump. When you're like, I was like 9 or something like that, and not under like being like, oh my God. But in that same night, I remember very specifically watching Toy Soldiers.
Okay.
And
I remember that. I like
that one,
movie.
I still think of that movie, and I remember watching it recently again, maybe within the last like 4 or 5 years, and being shocked at what was going on in that movie, because it like took terrorism in like a really like, it was like terrorism at a college. They're taking out, what is it, like 18-year-old kids?
Yeah.
They're throwing women off the sides of buildings. Like, you're just like, I mean, when you're young and you see that kind of stuff, you're just like, oh my God. And I saw it again. I just remember being like, holy shit, like that's hardcore, dude. Like that. Like I'm trying to, and then you start to think about like horror movies, where because I deal in horror movies. I'm dealing with violent subject matter a lot of times. And I'm just like, why do I feel that this violence in this situation is far scarier than some of like the scary movies that I watched? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's one that surprisingly affected me when I was very young, because I was like, oh my God, that's terrifying. And then watched it again as an adult fairly recently and was like, I still feel like weird watching this movie. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, it comes down to that whole thing. It's like kids swearing a lot,
Yep.
saying things they shouldn't be, and like, they're, they've left home, they're at the school, and and then this crazy stuff happens, like when I think it is the Jewish kid who like grabs the gun and like runs down and tries to shoot one of the terrorists, and the gun climbs, and you're like, that's exactly what would happen too. It's like, it's not like an action movie thing where he can just like waste a bunch of people. He immediately
There's
goes
recoil.
and shoots, and it recoils up,
Of course.
and then he gets taken out, and you're kind of like, you're shell shocked actually, because you're just like, oh my God, one of the friends just bit it, and that he was like a main character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to say Toy Soldiers.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's it. See, again, horror of reality. It's the
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, yeah.
And look at that. You watched that film when you were very young, and then lo and behold, did come up with an idea later to have basically a short about an active shooter in a situation. So, I mean, these things stick with you.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting. The more and more that I have these conversations and I see sort of like things that my work does, I'm like, yeah, there were things that I grew up with that definitely left an impression, and maybe didn't fully realize what it was coming from. And then you start to look back, you're like, oh yeah, that was definitely did something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's mini therapy. That's okay.
Okay.
That's good to
Yeah.
have.
No, it's fine. It's your way
No,
of
it's
working
good.
through it. You know,
Yeah.
it's your way of working through it. There's nothing
Well,
wrong
I
with
think
that.
that's what's great about just art in general, and I
Mhm.
mean for me, and that's filmmaking. It's just you do get to work through some of those things, and I think the more honest you can be about those things when doing that, um, it 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 works
Mhm.
better. You know what I mean? When you're when you're hiding behind something, or you're not fully ready to fully commit to an angle on something, then you feel there's a void there, and it's not fully you're not it's not packing the punch that it
Mhm,
could,
mhm.
and when you do, you know that you've done something special, and it feels like a part of you, and you're like, oh well, there's a reason why it's a part of me, because I saw this thing, or I was part of this growing up, or like because I grew up going to church every Sunday, you know what I mean, in Sunday school and youth group, and so like not to say that my segment in VHS or Wrong Turn had anything to do with that, but I was also like, but I grew up in a community, that had certain beliefs, and so being
Mhm.
able to
Right.
like say like it's rooted in, I really believe that this is real,
Yeah.
and this is how things are, this is how things are supposed to be. You're like, okay, do that, like this is what it should be then.
Yeah.
And so yeah, then you pull from that some of those experiences, and um the more honest I think you can be, the better,
Yeah.
as scary as
No,
it can be at times.
That's it. That's totally fair.
yeah.
Hopefully this conversation is not a downer for your evening on a Monday.
Dude, I have to have these conversations. I mean, when I'm writing stuff, like you have to get real sometimes and be like,
Yeah.
do I want to do this? Sometimes I do have to step back and say, this isn't something I want to explore. This isn't
Yeah.
my
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
This
And you
is
have
too
to,
much for me
yep. And
to
then
not.
you go another way, and you
Yeah.
you you tell a different story. But if something feels right, and something that's been on your mind for a while, then you have to do it.
Yeah.
It's
Put it
important.
down on paper
Yeah.
for
Yep.
sure. I guess two more questions for you. One is going to be a fun one, so we turn away
We're,
from this.
we do have a very small, silly little game if you're up for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, sure.
I was looking that you have a movie that is in post production right now, the Buonia, I think it's called, Legend of the
Boy,
Amazon.
yeah.
Yes, that's
Mhm.
it. Thank you. About a giant snake, from what I
A
understand.
monster
Yeah, a monster
Yes.
movie.
in the Amazon.
Um,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm looking. It's supposed to be released in Netherlands. Is it coming to the US? Can you tell us more about it, please?
It is. They haven't officially released the date here yet,
Okay.
but it'll be this year.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's supposed to be August, right, in Netherlands or something like that. So
Yes.
probably. Okay.
Somehow that they sold the territory there like instantly.
Huh.
That's
All
all
right.
I know about that. So North 56, which is our international sales, looks like they got their deal locked and sold. Lionsgate, who's doing domestic on it, they're planning. Again, it's either going to be late quarter three, early quarter
Mm.
four.
Oh, cool.
Um,
Okay.
and
Awesome.
yeah,
We just pay
I'm
attention to the releases because we're in Canada. So,
Yeah,
when
sometimes
it
they're in a
happens, when it
different.
trickles over to the States, we can be like, oh, good, great, 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 great. We'll get it
yeah,
right after.
yeah. No, it'll be a wider release.
Nice.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm really excited for that one. Like that one means a whole lot to me. And again, talking about, never thought I'd do a Wrong Turn, never thought I'd do a Silent Night, Deadly Night. Never in a million years did I think I'd do a giant snake movie. But
In the Amazon rainforest. Wow. Oof.
it actually go down to Colombia, stay in Leticia, get on a boat, shoot on the actual Amazon River, shoot in the jungle with all the snakes and the spiders, in the 98-degree weather with 100% humidity. Like everybody's just sweating, everybody's dirty. Like it was just like, wow. Like you had this moment where because like Sorcerer is one of my favorite movies, and
Mm.
you're like, whereas we maybe didn't do it as crazy or maybe as illegal of things as that they did in that movie, but there were times when I was talking with our producer, who's Jeremy Bolt. He did the Resident Evil films. He did Event Horizon. So
Wow.
working with him
Great.
was actually pretty incredible. Um, and both him and I love Sorcerer, and we had these moments where like, I mean, I don't want to like speak out of turn here, but it kind of feels like we're in it, man. Like Billy Friedkin like did it, like, and I mean, you're kind of cut off, and you're out in this jungle area, and you're running around, and you're.
It must be so different because I'm sure, yes, there's a crew, there are medics, and there are things, but you're like, I don't know. What if something does happen? I don't know what we're gonna do about it.
Yeah, there was plenty of infrastructure that you had to figure out, and how you were going to do it, and if there were sometimes things that you just, well, we can't do that. Okay. Well, how do we do this? And then it's like figuring it out. It's always a puzzle. And yeah, a lot of safety things. But again, like everybody was full bore to get that one done. And really gave it their all, both in front of and behind camera. They just freaking killed it, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it has a great cast. Also, you're back with working with Alan McElroy, right?
Yeah.
So as a writer, yeah. So I think you've got a good crew of people you've worked with in the past on this one as well.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, I teamed back up with him, and then of course Robert Kulzer, who also produced Wrong Turn, has produced this one as well.
Nice.
So it was a Constantine project, which again, Wrong Turn was Constantine, got taken by Lionsgate. This is also Constantine, got taken by Lionsgate. So it's a cool, and yeah, it's a fun survival film, and it's got a lot of heart, and it's dirty, it's sweaty, it's raw. There's I mean, we got to work with like real local, like non-actors, and work in some of these villages and these areas. It was just, I mean, half the film is subtitled, like it takes place like we are there, and it is a very, very Spanish speaking movie.
Okay.
Yeah, we're right there, Colombia and Brazil.
That's awesome.
That's
I'm
really
looking
cool.
forward to that. I think
yeah, seriously, really cool. Definitely looking forward to it. Okay, so as I guess a last thing, we have kind of like a horror matchup for a bracket. In terms of the movies that you would let's say movies that you like, movie that you would definitely watch, like
the preferred,
right now,
like your preferred
movie.
of the two that we kind of like shoot out.
Yeah, that's it. I chose a couple of movies that we've seen, a couple of movies that we think you would have definitely seen. There's not too many because I don't want to do like a 20 bracket here.
God,
take hours. So we'll start off with the first one. Wrong Turn, the original one, 2003. Yeah, versus Hills Have Eyes, the 2006 one. Which one would you take?
Oh boy, you're pitting up Alan with Alexander Aja and Maxime, who Maxime shot Domestics, and I've been a huge Alexander Aja fan like ever since I did.
I'm sorry.
No, this is good. This is good. Shit, right now, I'm gonna go with Wrong Turn. 2003.
In this moment. Okay.
Yep, in this moment, I'm gonna go Wrong Turn.
Okay, perfect. Registered. Next bracket, Midsommar or The Menu?
Midsommar. Midsommar.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. Registered. Oh, you want to do the next one?
Yeah, this one's it's a Stephen King mashup. So
because Stephen King.
Yeah. The Shining or Carrie?
The Shining.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. You love these ones.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's the comedy one. Cabin in the Woods or Shaun of the Dead?
Cabin in the Woods.
Okay.
Cabin in the Woods. All right. So our next bracket.
Now we're down to pitting them against each other.
Pitting them against each other. So we have Wrong Turn or Midsommar.
Oh my gosh. Okay, now we're working down.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Like it's
Oh my gosh.
We're gonna have to get to an ultimate favorite in this.
Yeah. Sure. We're gonna go Midsommar. Okay. God, I just love that movie. Makes me feel so weird inside. Like it's like it's crazy, the horror of that movie is something I don't know if I ever felt that before. So yes,
it's the scariest breakup film I've ever watched in my entire life.
And it doesn't hide
terrifying.
It's not night. It's not nothing.
No,
it's really just
it's so scary.
Daylight.
It's so disconcerting to watch. You're just kind of like uncomfortable the whole time.
Yeah.
And then okay. So then the second bracket is now The Shining or Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, in terms of just like wanting to watch, because they're both great movies. I love them.
They're so
Yes,
good.
of course.
But in terms of what I'd want to watch right now, I'm going to have to go with. Boy, that's tough.
Making you work a bit.
I'm gonna have to say. I'm gonna go Cabin in the Woods.
Okay.
All right.
And so then, so then
we have
the
final bracket.
final bracket means that it's Midsummer versus Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's just the mood I'm in right now, and the fact that like I don't know, I don't know if it's what I've been writing lately, or let's just put it this way. Right now, I'm in more of a mood for a feel good horror, and that would
Okay.
be Cabin in the Woods.
Yep.
All right.
There's nothing feel good about Midsummer.
No.
No, there's not. I mean, gosh, it's a great movie, but like, it's
Yes.
also one of those movies that like not quite sure. It's like one of those like once or twice a year, maybe once a year, once a couple
Yeah.
years. I don't know.
Yeah. It's not like a pop it on for fun movie.
No, but
No,
Cabin
it's
in the Woods
not.
is.
Cabin in the Woods is always a pop it on
Anytime,
for fun
give it to me.
movie.
Kevin, like I cannot wait actually to show my son, who's I think a little young for it now, but like because he's of course seen me make all these scary
Yeah, of
movies, and
course,
like
yes.
I've introduced him to some stuff, and so he's very aware of like monsters and creatures and different characters and stuff like that. And that movie, Where It Goes, I think his mind would be blown. That end sequence, actually the end sequence, I think he would just love on its own.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Because it's just like monsters just wrecking havoc.
that's it.
I just remember how surprising that was. I went into that
Oh.
movie blind, and I'm so glad that I did, because when
Nobody
it turned
told
the way
me.
that it did, I
No,
was like,
That's it.
Yeah.
whoa, what movie am I in right now? And then it builds on it. It's not just,
Mhm.
oh, okay, well, we're setting it up at the beginning and something's going to happen. No, it's not just that. It's, oh yeah, we're going to allow you to do the thing. We're going to allow you to do the thing that all the people watching the movie we want to do. So these characters get to go into that lab.
Yeah.
There
Mhm.
you go.
Yeah. It's great.
No,
Well,
it's
see, and I thought the movie was gonna end after she went in like the cubes, and you
Yes.
saw
Right.
all the characters. I thought it was gonna pull out, and then it was just gonna be like,
Nope.
and I was and they didn't, and I was like, and I remember my brother had seen the movie before I did, and he took me to it. He's like, you have to see this movie. He goes, I want to be next to you when you watch it.
Yeah.
And then of course it kept going and blah blah blah, and then of course the elevators start coming, and he didn't watch the movie. He just went like this and was looking at me because he could just see it was literally like how I would play with my GI Joes when I was like 8 years old, because I had all my monster figures and all my GI Joes, and I had a bunch
Oh,
of
yeah.
broken GI Joes. And so what I'd do is I'd take those broken GI Joes and I'd set them up, and I'd have the Queen Alien come and rip them apart, and like their heads and stuff would go flying. And so to see all those monsters come down and just tear those SWAT guys apart was just like, I'm 10.
Yeah.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah,
And that is exactly why it's the ultimate winner.
It kind of
Mhm.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. At least
Yeah.
for tonight, for sure.
Yeah, for today it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice. Thanks so much.
awesome.
That was really fun. It was really great. Thank you so much for again taking the time to talk to us. You know what? If we can reach out to you when the Legend on Amazon comes out, that would be great. We can talk to you
Yeah.
about it again. That would be
That would be
cool.
awesome, because
Yeah.
we'd really like to check it out, and
Yeah,
then be
that's
able to chat with you about it, because it sounds like it's going to be a really interesting experience.
Yeah, it like I said, it's we did something really fun and special with it. It's got a lot to it. It's a heavy movie.
Mhm.
It's a good answer to what, like, we just got Anaconda, and it's a good, very much the opposite answer to that movie. So whereas Anaconda
Right.
was a lot of fun and kind of a ride, ours is we'll just say it's a little bit more grim. But in a really great way. We still carry the heart through, but it's beefy.
Awesome. Looking forward to it for
Yeah,
sure.
for
Yeah.
sure. Thank you again so much to Mike P. Nelson for hopping on with us. This was such a blast. We had such a good time with this entire conversation. I think everybody's probably pretty excited for everything that he's kind of got going on right now. I can't wait to see his new film. Hopefully before the end of this year would be awesome. It's got like a really stacked cast, and it sounds like it's going to be such a good time.
And a bunch of writers are coming back that he's worked in the past with. So like it just looks like it's going to be great.
Oh, it sounds like it's going to be so great. And we also just had such a fun time just chatting with him about general horror stuff. This was such a cool, like, kind of look behind the curtain to a degree into the world of somebody who kind of works with this stuff full time that we really love to go see and talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, so if you like those kind of interviews and the other stuff that we do, remember to follow us on our socials at Gravetone Pod on every social media account. That is the handle.
Yeah. And you can also check out our website at gravetonepod.com. All of our episodes are there. All of our interviews are there that are all archived as well. And you can check out our little horror movie picker quiz anytime you would like to, which we're consistently adding new titles to as we see new films as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, in the meantime, guys, stay scared and stay tuned.
Ciao, guys.